Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, welcome to Saturday. Hope everybody is out there enjoying your Saturday, doing something that you love to do. And we are live on Facebook. I am Karen Kilkenny, of course. I think you're all getting to know me by now. I have Ellen Violette with me. Ellen, say hello.
Hi,
Great to have you with me.
great to be here.
Thank you. So we'll wait for people to come on, and if it's anything like the day is here today, they're out doing something else. But I'll tell you, we have here in Michigan, in the US, we have had many days of heavy rain in a row. It's been horrible. Like the weather's been, it's just been excessive. And so everybody is, I think, thrilled to see the sunshine today for the first time in a long time. But anyway, oh my.
Well, if they're in my neck of the woods, they're fine.
Say that again?
If they're in my neck of the woods, there hasn't been any rain.
Yeah, you're in California, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have got Cecilia with us. Hi, Cecilia. Great to see you. Cecilia and Ellen, I'd like to introduce the two of you. And by the way, Cecilia says, Ellen, that she's been waiting for this interview.
All right.
Yeah, Cecilia, I'd love to know why that is. If you don't mind dropping it in the chat about what's been, why have you been waiting for this interview? She's in Ohio and she's saying, yeah, Ohio's my next door neighbor. Weather's been crazy, rain, sun, overcast skies, and breezy. Yeah, it's weather's kind of crazy all over the globe, actually. Okay, so Cecilia's written a great story. You're in the right place, Cecilia, because so Ellen, if you've watched the interview, let us know if you watched Ellen's interview. Ellen is a #1 bestseller. You've written 9 books, right, Ellen?
9 books.
9 books.
On my 10th.
And you're on your 10th. Ooh, do you want to tell us what that's all about?
Well, okay, and I'm updating one of them right now, and I kind of really want to update all of them and also get them all into audiobooks. But yeah, well, I've actually got 2 in the works. One is I've been doing #1 bestseller launches since 2012, and I have a home study course on it, and I've done it one-on-one, but I don't have a book on it. So I just need to compile all the information that I have and get it into a book. So that's one of them. And then the other one is I wrote this book. It's called 21 Simple Strategies to Jumpstart Your Book Marketing Online, Proven Techniques for Quick Results. And I'm now working on the next one, which is 21 Advanced Strategies.
Ooh, that sounds amazing. Cecilia, you're gonna, oh, there we go. You're gonna have to get your hands on that. Looks amazing.
Yeah, I found that so many authors don't think about marketing until they've already written their book. And then they think, oh, well, there's not, I don't know what to do, and they're overwhelmed. And so I wrote the 21 Simple Strategies just to tell people there's so many really simple things that you can do that, you can just bang out and start getting some marketing done. So you get the word out.
Yeah, getting some traction. Just like coaches, who have a program, really all they need to do is the market research and figure out who their ideal client is, who they're helping and how they're helping them, and then go out and sell it. And then you basically create it from there once you just simply have the outline. So we
some people do it the other way. They write the book first, that gives them the outline, and then they create the course from it. You can do it either way.
Yeah. Okay. When you've got a book. Yeah. Very good. Very good. So Cecilia, or anybody else who jumps in, who has any questions for Ellen, if you've got a book in your head, or you're like me, you have a book that's about, in my case, 80% on, not paper, on digital. If you have any questions for Ellen, please ask her. She's also a Grammy nominated songwriter. So and her history goes way back. We've got an expert here.
So why is it 80% done?
Well, because I just started focusing on some other things. And as it was right, I wrote it right at the beginning of this whole pandemic. And so I started really getting heavy into digital marketing. And so I kind of wanted to take a step back and say, you know, who am I really helping here? Because do I need to massage that just a little bit? You know, I've been coaching since 2014, mostly all in person and one-to-one. And so it just made me want to step back and just be sure I was really clear before going forward on who I was helping and how I was helping them. So, and I never got back to it since. So it's
yeah, that's why I asked you that, because that happens a lot. Is like people lose the momentum and they don't get back to it. Or I had one coach and he said he had his book 90% done and then he didn't finish it for 10 years.
oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so and he said the reason he didn't finish it was because he did not see himself as an author and he just mentally could not finish it until he changed his mindset. So I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, so that's one of the first things that I focus on when I work with people is the mindset behind it. So there's some exercises. I have a boot camp, and when we do that, I noticed that some of the testimonials would say, wow, you know, I love that you focus on mindset first and get us in that frame of mind that, yeah, you're an author. You're doing this, you're an author.
It's like a puzzle, you know, everything's like a puzzle. There are multiple facets to it, multiple pieces to it, and we have to really make sure they all come together for a finished product. So you're saying that when you're writing a book and preparing for a #1 bestseller, it's no different.
Right.
And that mindset is so very important.
Right. It's no different. It's also different from what you said before, you know, when you were saying about doing a coaching program. It's the same with a book, and people don't think like this. But, you know, like, you know, what, first of all, what really is going to excite you? Because if you're not excited, you're not going to stick with it. I see this over and over in my boot camps. When somebody gets stuck and they're not finishing, and we have a conversation, invariably it's like, well, I wasn't really excited about it. You know, that comes up a lot. And the other one is, did you do the outline? No. And I'll say, why not? I don't know. So those are some really important components, and those are what I focus on when I do my 5-day bestseller challenge that's coming up, and that everybody who's in your summit gets as a free gift.
That's amazing. All right, so we have a question here, and Cecilia's congratulating you on your accomplishments, which are many.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cecilia. So the question is, do you recommend going with an agency or do you recommend self-publishing?
Oh, that is such a loaded question. You have to understand my background. I was in the music business for 20 years. Songwriters make about 10 cents a record. At least they did when I was very active. And then the producers and the record companies would get rich. And so that really was not a great model for the creative people.
Right.
And so when I got into book writing, there were a few things. One was I was terrified of doing a book proposal, first of all, and I didn't know how to do one. So that kind of scared me. But aside from that, I didn't want to give up control, and I didn't want to give up my money, to be perfectly honest. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to self-publish. When you go with a company, you're going to give up a lot. If you have no resources and you can't do formatting or, you know, do any of the things that are important, editing, you know, coaching, if you need a coach, like, you know, a lot of what I do with my clients really is this strategy is just as important as editing, formatting, you know, getting a great book cover and title. So that's an issue. But, you know, you can pay someone like my company, where we do that for authors, but we don't take any royalties. Even if you self-publish and you put it on Amazon or Ingram Spark, I mean, you're going to get like 70% royalties in most cases, if it's between, what is it, $2.99 and $9.99. And, you know, but it's a decision that people have to make. And the other thing that people don't realize is they don't give the advances they used to give anymore. And they still want you to know how to market. I mean, they don't even want you. They'd rather have a good book that is well marketed than a great book that has no marketing behind it. So you're going to have to do that either way. And so to me, there's even really less incentive than ever to give anything away. Like I said, unless you just don't have the resources to hire somebody like us.
Mhm.
That's my take. That's not, the right answer for everybody, but that's my take.
Well, those are great considerations to think through, and probably, hopefully helps move you, Cecilia, or anybody else who might have that question a little bit further down the road in terms of what is best for them.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who think that it's more prestigious to go with a publishing company, and then it really depends on, which publishing company it is,
Mhm.
and really finding out what they're really going to do for you.
Mhm.
And be very careful, because a lot of them will say they market for you, and their idea of marketing is putting your book on their website. That's not marketing.
That's not marketing at all.
No.
No.
So,
Very interesting.
and
So,
that's really how they do people a lot, because
Mhm.
a lot of writers are like, well, I don't know how to market. I better, go with a company that's going to market for me. And I've never heard anybody not be disappointed with that.
yeah, yeah. And Cecilia's saying that's great info. Control is important, which is interesting. You made that comment, Cecilia, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so, who helps when you do decide to go with a publishing company? Are you completely on your own with the negotiations? I assume you help people through that, and what kind of things to ask. And my curiosity also is, and what do you give up control of? Talk a little more about that.
You're publishing. That means they have control of it. In other words, like, I sometimes work with authors where we're doing a #1 bestseller launch, but they were published by a publisher, and it's just a headache, because then they actually are the ones who can get us into Amazon. They have to approve everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they are basically in control of what you can do and what you can't do with your own book.
That's huge. So Cecilia asked then, what about joint venture publishing?
What's joint venture publishing? I've never heard that term.
Oh,
There's
tell us-
hybrid publishing.
Okay, tell us about hybrid publishing.
Hybrid publishing are companies like Morgan James, where you still pay a fee, but it's a lot smaller,
Mhm.
and they do help you get more distribution, and you have to buy books. So it's kind of like you're giving up some, but not as much. You're getting like a partner.
Okay, yeah, and that's what she's saying. That's what she meant, hybrid publishing.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, and if you've just joined us, let us know you're here. Say hello. We'd love to hear from you. I'm here doing Q&A live with Ellen Violette, who's amazing expert in book publishing, and specifically #1 bestsellers. And she helps people actually create their book in just 7 days, and then helps you take it to a #1 bestseller. And she does have a challenge coming up. I will share that with all of you. That starts next Monday, right, Ellen? A week from tomorrow, a week from Monday. Yeah. So it's a good thing to do if you're interested in a book, if you have a book in your head, or anything like that. If you're just interested in writing a book, you want to do it, even if you haven't just started.
Yeah, the reason that I'm do this challenge is a couple of reasons. One is, it's really not as hard as people think it is. It's just if you go through the first 5 steps. And the other thing is that the reason that I'm able to help people write a book in 7 days is because of these 5 steps. When you do the 5 steps, it shouldn't take you months or years to write a book.
Mhm.
The reason it takes people so long is they don't do it the right way.
Yeah. And just like, again, in business, doing things in the proper order will, I'm sure, I'm pulling this out from what you're saying, not only save you time, but give you a better quality.
Oh, absolutely.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, the problem is, and I even see book coaches do this, it drives me crazy. You'll say, oh, we'll do a brain dump. It's like the last thing on earth I want to do is a brain dump, because then what happens? You've got all this information that's a mess.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at it and going, oh my God, how do I organize this? And that's where the stress and overwhelm comes, and then you do nothing.
Yes.
So I'm really against doing brain dumps. I'm really against doing a lot of book research before you write your book, because you don't know what research you need. And so again, people research and research and research, and they don't really know what they're looking for while they're researching.
Great point. Like
So,
a needle in a haystack.
right, and yeah, so I mean, and 99.9% of it is not going to end up in your book anyway. So it's really a waste of time until you know what you need. So that's what you were saying, is there's an order to things, and when you follow the order, it's just so much easier.
So much easier. All right, so talk about editing. And Cecilia's asking, how do you handle the editing process?
Can you be more specific?
Cecilia, can you be more specific with the question? Do you have a more specific question about editing? First, why don't we start here while she's typing up her question?
Okay.
Talk about editing in general, like what is it really, and how
Okay.
long? Yeah, what is it? How long does it
Well,
take?
first of all, I used to be a copy editor for magazines, so I know something about editing. And one of the things that I see people do is, rather than coming to a company like ours where they get a package and everything is done with professional people, they go and they try to do one piece at a time, right? So they're trying to find an editor on their own.
Mhm.
And one of the big issues that I see with editors is that a lot of them are just bad. They're just terrible. And I have seen people spend thousands of dollars on editing that we've had to throw out and redo.
Yeah.
So, and that's heartbreaking. I mean, my heart goes out to them, but I can't do it for free.
Mhm.
So, that's a problem. There are different kinds of editing. Like I worked with one client very closely. I really co-wrote the book, if you really want to be honest about it. But I was a developmental editor on that book.
Mhm.
And basically, I mean, we were, rewriting, we were moving paragraphs around. We were saying, well, you already said this over here. You don't need to say it over there. I mean, just a lot of rearranging, cutting, pasting, just making it flow. After that, it's more, grammar, punctuation, things like that. Making sure you're not like having two sentences in a row where you use the same word twice. Maybe you want to change one of the words. Sometimes it's maybe changing from a passive to an active voice. So, yeah, but I would say the best way you can save yourself money with editing, and I just went through this with somebody, is like, don't send an editor like, this line has to change, that line has to, and then you've got all these, emails and all this thing all over the place, and then it's a big mess. It's like, no, when you go through your manuscript, put all your changes in one document, and then send it in, and then
Mhm.
we'll fix them, and then you can go and do it again. But again, realize that, I mean, there are books by well-known authors that are in third, fourth, fifth printing, and they still have issues in them, and some of them they just decided not to follow the regular punctuation and grammar anyway. I mean, I see that all the time. Like sometimes at the beginning of a sentence, you'd have a comma after it. I was just reading a book and it didn't have a comma after it. So, but then what happens is people, because especially if it's their first book, then they're like, well, it has to be perfect. And it doesn't have to be perfect for you to publish it. You can publish it when it's, remember the 80-20 rule.
80-20 rule. Yeah, I was just
If it's
thinking that.
80, if
Yeah.
it's 80% done,
Yeah.
just get it out.
Yeah.
Just get it out,
And this is why you see all these different editions with books, and
Right.
which of course I'm also include updates of information or whatever, but any edits as well.
Right. And also be aware, like when you see different editions, if it's changed by 30%, you need a new ISBN.
ISBN, for those who don't know.
Yeah, it's the number that you get from the Library of Congress, so that like in libraries, and I don't know if it's actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if it's a Library of Congress, but you get those numbers, and that is like identifies your book, just like your driver's license identifies you.
Mhm.
And each
Okay.
one needs its own. Although if you're just on Amazon, you don't have to worry about it because they give it to you for free.
Yeah.
But then you can't use it anywhere else. It's just for Amazon.
Okay, so editing, I don't know if that answers your question, Cecilia. She did rewrite the question. Once your book is written, I assume you do a reread and take out extraneous info before submission, if
Yeah.
going with a publisher or a hybrid.
For anybody, even self-publishing. I mean, if somebody comes to us and they're working with us and we're doing a publishing package, they still have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like you want to get it as finished as you can get it before you send it to an editor. And then you have to know what kind of editor that you're looking for. Again, unless you come to someone like us where we'll tell you, say, well, this needs a developmental editor or this doesn't need that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She said that was great. So I assume that very much answered her question. Wonderful. Yeah. So in the challenge you have coming up, what can people expect from the outcome of that challenge?
Yeah, the outcome is that they are going to have an outline
Mhm.
that will set them up to write a book quickly and to know that it can be a bestseller because they've set it up the right way, which means exactly what you just said. It's like we talk about what's your passion and skill set so that you're going to be excited about it because, it does take some time. I mean, even if you get your
Mhm.
manuscript done in 7 days and then you go into editing and then you're reading it and you're rereading it and then, and formatting. And I mean, there are some detailed work that has to be done. And again, if you don't love what you're doing and you're not motivated enough, it's going to be hard to finish. So we always talk about passion and skill set. I know there are people who say, oh, passion doesn't matter. I just highly disagree from my own journey that when I have not been passionate, it has not worked out well. that's all I can tell you. And
Yeah.
what I see from my clients as well.
I believe that because without passion, a book, I mean, it's a pretty good sized project. So
Yeah.
without that passion, how are you going to have the momentum to carry it through to the
Right. And that's what I'm saying.
like me?
Or even if you hire somebody like us,
Mhm.
it's an investment.
Yes.
So, you have to be invested
Mhm.
to make that investment. So there's that. And then who is your best target market? Sometimes people come to me and they've written a book. Oh, I had this one doctor and it was just a mess because he was trying to write a book that was his memoir. He was trying to write a book for his patients and he was trying to write a book for upcoming doctors all in one book. That doesn't work. There was 3 different books in one book. So who are you writing your book for? Who's the best market for your book? And then, yeah. And then how are you going to position it? Like you want to be in a niche where there are other books because that means that there's interest in it. But then you've got to stand out. Like, why should people buy your book instead of anybody else's book? And so that's where the positioning comes in, how you write your title and your subtitle and what the benefits of your book are. So we go into all that in the challenge. And then writing that outline. So once you get there, you've got that confidence that you're writing a book that is the foundation for a book that can be very successful and can move your business forward.
And that's what a lot of people want to do. I mean, a lot of people want to write a book for a legacy, just leaving a legacy. Other people want to write a book as a way to market themselves in their business. And it can be an excellent marketing tool if we go about it the right way.
Oh, absolutely. And the credibility is amazing. I mean, I'm reading The One Thing because Ken Krell recommended that I read it. And there's a story in there about Gary Keller, who is the author of the book. And he's Keller Williams Realty. And they were looking at they weren't getting the respect of the top people in their industry. And he decided to do a brainstorming session with his team and said, let's make a list of the top 100 things that we could do to make this happen. And then they got it down to the top 10. And then it was like, okay, well, what's the one thing? And the one thing was write a book.
Very interesting. Yeah, that is a great book, by the way. I recommend anybody read that book.
Yeah. So number 1 was write a book, and that book changed everything for them.
Very interesting. Yeah, I love that story. So, all right, Cecilia, coming back to, yeah, exactly. Do you know, Cecilia says, I know that real estate company. Yes, they're very, very, very large. And they are very well known for their training and the quality of their training for their agents. And so she's asking, do you suggest going to an editor before submission? I think I heard the answer was yes.
Before submission. Oh, if you're going to a publishing company, you mean?
I assume so. Is that what you mean?
No. I mean, if you're working with a publishing company, they're going to help you with all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you meant though, Cecilia? Can say yes or no. So going to an editor before submission. So I'm curious, you having been a Grammy nominated songwriter also, amazing. So how is, and I don't know how relevant this is, but how is songwriting different from writing a book?
The core idea is the same. In other words, the idea that you need a hook and you need to connect with your audience. Those two things are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else it's different.
Okay.
Because with a song, you obviously you have to rhyme it and you have to fit it in a particular framework. Although in a book you have to have a framework too, but they're very different kinds of frameworks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, the expression is very different, but there are some common themes. And I think that's one of the things that made me such a good book coach so early on, is that I think I have a knack for understanding the emotional connection to the audience, regardless of whether it's songs or books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's like so important.
Yes.
Yeah. And a
So
lot of times what people do is, oh, I want to write this book, and they don't think about their audience at all until they've written it. And then they're like, well, how come it's not selling? So it's like they want to do what they want to do, but then they want it to sell and they didn't set it up that way.
I'm seeing so many parallels that it's such a good point. It's so many parallels to running a business that you really have to start with really doing the work and knowing who your ideal client is. If you're here listening and you have a great idea and you're ready to launch your business, or your early stage business, or you tried to bring your business online but it's not really getting any traction. I mean, this is really important for you to hear, although we constantly have to refine this. We have to be really doing the work on who our ideal client is and how we're helping them, all of that stuff first, knowing the audience so well, because everything else kind of falls within that guideline. So when we get really crystal clear on who we're helping and how we're helping them, then everything falls in line with that. And any decision or any question that you have, it's easily answered and easily made with that as the guardrail.
Yeah, and also they'll be aware with that over time your ideal market can change too.
Oh yes, and that's why the big companies continually refine it over and over and over again. We're always all changing. And I was just had a call with a financial advisor on Thursday, and we're talking about ideal client. And I asked the question, how has your client changed? How has your ideal client changed? How has your client base changed since this pandemic hit? And it was really unclear. And so because of that having happened, if we haven't done it already, you definitely want to go back and revisit with all of your clients and ask them, how have your needs changed? Because I guarantee you they have. Everything's changed since the world changed. And this is why we have to constantly go back, because people evolve, situations, environments change, and we're all evolving, aging, and the way we think about things, our perspective is consistently evolving as well.
Yep.
Well said. So what would you say, like for somebody who's, maybe I'll ask the question a different way. When is the right time, somebody in a business who maybe hasn't written their book yet, but wants to, when is the right time to write a book in a business and use that as a marketing tool and to gain credibility for yourself in a business?
It's a great question, because I've taken some business courses and, some people who make millions of dollars, and they'll say, you have to do it this way. And inevitably I'm like, I didn't do it that way. And so I wrote my first book first of all, I wrote my first book before I even had my business. It was on moving, because I just wanted to write a book. And that really was the impetus for me becoming a book coach, because it was not a fun ride writing that first book. And I thought, I can do this better. this is not happening for me. And so, and I knew I wanted to write more books. At that point, um, to back up a little bit, I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and then you can ask me the question again. But basically, I almost died around the turn of the century, which always sounds funny. And yeah,
Mhm.
and they didn't know what was wrong with me and why I'd lost 30 pounds in a month, and I was just fading away. And my husband got online and he found this doctor who'd written this book, and it was called Detox or Die.
Mhm.
And she had suffered from the same thing I suffered from, which is environmental illness, which is when you just have too much toxicity in your body from everything, and you become allergic to everything, chemicals and perfumes and fragrances and foods and just clothing. I mean, everything that's synthetic, because
Mhm.
we live in a very toxic world.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to work with her, but she wasn't seeing clients anymore. So we read the book and we did what the book said, and it saved my life. And so I had always wanted to write a book, but that was the wake up call for me. It was like, well, shit, when is someday? When is that? It almost didn't happen, you know?
Mhm.
So that
Mhm.
was when I decided I want to write a book. And so I was ready to write a book, but I didn't know what to write about because I didn't have a business at that point. I'd come out of the music business. We'd been buying, fixing, and selling houses and flipping them because I had inherited an earthquake damaged house and we made a lot of money. And I
Mhm.
lost my recording studio when my parents died because it was in my parents' house that I had to sell when they died. So, so I was at this point where, we were just trying to figure out what we were going to do.
Mhm.
And so once the market got too hot and we couldn't flip anymore because nobody would give us the financing, we took a property management job. And that was when I got online and really started looking around to find out, more about the process and everything, and whether
Mhm.
I thought this was viable for me to do as a career. And the
Mhm.
funny thing about it is I was like 50 and I was asking like, am I over the hill? Which makes me laugh now because that was like, years ago. But a lot of people feel that way. Oh my God, am I too old? And the truth is, right when you think you're too old is when you finally have the wisdom and the knowledge to share in a book, right?
That makes sense.
Oh yeah. So that's kind of funny. But
Not that you can't have the wisdom and a very important message to sell much earlier than
no,
that.
but I'm just saying a lot of times when people are older, they think maybe I'm too old, and I can guarantee you, you're not too old.
Exactly.
Some people might be a little too young, but I don't think you'll ever be too old in
Yes.
that sense. But my point is that I'm making here is I'm getting back to when's the best time to write a book.
Yeah.
So for me, uh, it was just like I had to write books. Like that was just something on my bucket list, and I had to do it. It was now or never. So after I wrote the first book, and I really didn't have a business, but I knew I wanted to write books, and I got online, and all of a sudden I found ebooks. I was
Mm.
like, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, I don't have to write a book proposal, and I can do this myself, and I can get directly to my audience. And in other words, I can self-publish. Okay. So for me, that was like the turning point. I was like, yes, I want that. That's what I want to do. Well, then I better learn marketing because I don't know anything about marketing. And so, but I needed to make some money. And so I was like, okay, that's where you say, well, what can I do? What skills do I have? And as I said, I'd been a copy editor. I'd been a publicist
Songwriter.
for a comedy club. Yeah, I'd
Mhm.
already been a songwriter,
Mhm.
and I had done real estate. So that was kind of what I had done in my life. And so I started taking courses, and then I got cold water splashed in my face when I learned that you don't make a lot of money from the books, you make the money from teaching what's in the books. And I was like, oh crap. So I thought, okay, well, whatever. So I hired a coach to teach me how to coach. And he had,
Smart.
yeah, well, yeah, and he had written this, he called it an ebook journal, I think. And at this point, I had written my first book, and I'd gone through his journal, and I thought there were some things that could be better. And I said to him, how would you like to do a joint venture? Because I could improve this and we could split the profits. And he said, no, I don't care. Just take it and do what you want. So that became my second book. which today is now the Real Easy ebook workbook. And I've updated it a few times, since then. That was 2004. But so I started writing books right away. And I used that book as a lead generator. And then I did a 2-part, in those days, teleseminar. We didn't have webinars and Zoom and all that. And I gave that away for free. Today it would be called a master class. And I just gave everything I knew. It was like 2 90-minute calls, and I just gave everything. And I have to laugh because I was on the Clubhouse the other day, and the guy saying, "Oh, well, don't give away too much because then people won't want more and they won't hire you and all this." And I'm like, oh God, okay, that's not what I think. Because I think that no matter how much I share with people, it's still there seems to be, for some people, a disconnect between the theory and the actually being able to do it. So I can talk about titles all day long, and most people still need my help.
Yeah.
So maybe it depends on what you teach, but for me, it's really not an issue. But I did that, and then I got into what happened was there was a marketer. He was really a great guy, and his name was Mark Hendricks, and he created this thing called the 12 Days of Christmas. And so it was similar to your summit in that everybody would give away free gifts. Well, the difference was we didn't do interviews. It was just the gifts. People were just giving away the information. And he had 77 marketers giving away information. But in those days, everybody was hungry for information. We didn't have video, right? We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have all this stuff. And people were hungry and wanted to know how to do things. And so I built a list to 1,600 people in 2 weeks from 200 people. And I was instantly in business.
That is great. What a great idea.
But what started me was that I had the book. So you can write a book right in the beginning and use the book to create, to grow your business. Today you can do a $7 book and create a funnel, like what we were just saying. You can create a program behind the book, and then a couple of extra little smaller things, and create a funnel. So, there are all different ways that you can do it. So I don't believe that there is a right way or a right time. But what I will say is, I think, other than the fact that I think some people wait too long, I see people who have successful businesses, they haven't written a book yet, and they keep putting it off. I'm busy, I have too much to do. When am I going to have the time? And the boot camp is great, and the challenge is great for that, because you learn my tricks of the trade to get it done as quickly as possible. And of course, you can hire us to finish it for you, so you don't have to deal with it.
Well, I'm certainly guilty of that. And I just loved it. You're telling your whole story, because I'm pulling a lot of things out of this. And I'm sure whoever's listening is also. So the best time to write a book, it sounds like, mainly is when you either have something to sell and you have the bandwidth to be able to just take the time to get it done, to use it as a marketing tool, and to use it for a funnel and all of that. But also what I'm pulling out is when you have the inspiration and you feel the passion for it, catch that wave and do it then, because seems to sound like the most sensible time to get it done.
Yeah, like I said, if you want to write a book, it's like, make the time to write a book.
Do it. Yeah.
But like I said, the other side of the coin is that you can keep saying, well, I can't do it because I don't have time. And it's really, that really hurts, because those people can benefit the absolute most, and they're the ones not doing it. And that's the reason our company is Books Open Doors, because that's what I see for my clients is they write the book and amazing things start to happen for them. They've had magazine covers, and they get on stages for the first time. Or, I have a client who, just carried his book under his arm to a conference, and he wanted Kevin Harrington to recognize him, and he did. He brought him on stage. The way he says it, he took the air out of the room. Like, they talked about his book for 45 minutes at this conference. He became his mentor. He got offered all expense paid to Singapore, which was a lifetime dream of his. He was already consulting at companies. He now can charge more money. So, just amazing things happen. And yet people hold them back by not writing that book when they have a successful business.
So good. This is so good. Really great information. Cecilia's saying, I loved hearing this. So, you've touched somebody here, and I'll tell you, you certainly have my ear too, because I am one of those people. I'm going to admit it right now, who I'm too busy. I've got so much more going on, and so you've got me very intrigued.
Well,
Very
you
intrigued.
want a tip? Want a tip?
Yes, bring it
Okay.
on. Of course.
Okay, so I have the same issue. You know, the last book I wrote was in 2019, so that's been 2 years.
Mhm.
And I was laying in bed the other day, and I could feel myself feeling kind of down. And I go, okay, what's going on? And I go, I'm upset because I don't have time to write any more books. I want to write another book. You know, I want to get these other books done that I kind of started the ideas about. And I thought, you know, we always talk about how we make time for the things that we want to do.
Mhm.
And so I said to myself, okay, well, I've noticed lately I'm getting older. I'm not sleeping as much, but I'm kind of wasting a lot of time in the morning. It's like I'll wake up and I'll meditate, but sometimes my meditations go on for like 2 hours. You know, I'll think and I'll just, you know, do whatever. Thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start getting up and I'm going to work on my book in the morning before I do anything else. And that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been
And
doing.
and
Yeah, and I'm almost done with the rewrite. Oh, it's not even a rewrite, but like I said, I'm updating this book, and I'm just about finished. I'm just about finished updating it. Yeah,
that's phenomenal. Congratulations,
yeah.
Ellen.
I added a preface. I added 4 extra strategies to the back, and I just know how to market it better. So I'm going to add some more, you know, marketing within the book.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah,
Wonderful.
so that's what I've been doing.
Very
But
good. Congrats.
yeah, it goes back to what are your priorities,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then make the time for it, you know, and
Mhm.
that's advice for me and for everybody else. Because yeah, the
Excellent.
thing about books is they don't bring you that instant, you know, gratification in a minute. Like you got to put in some work and it takes some time. And
Mhm.
so it's always easy to keep putting it off. And
Yeah.
I don't want to put it off anymore. You know?
Well, this has been great, and I loved hearing this too. And I know there will be people right listening in on the replay. So anybody else who has questions about book writing, writing your own #1 bestseller for Ellen, please put them in the comments, because we'll be checking back and we'll make sure that we get your questions answered. And as she said, she's got a challenge coming up. I'll let you say that one more time, Ellen. You've got a challenge coming up. Tell us about the challenge.
I do. It's the 5-day bestseller breakthrough challenge. It will be taking place in a private Facebook group.
Mhm.
And there's a live Q&A every day. And we've got we're getting close to it. So we'll have at least one more pre-event training that you can get access to.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's it. And then there'll be a master class and a boot camp
Great. Maybe you can give us,
for those who want to go on. Yeah.
great. Yeah, maybe you can get us a link. I'll work with you after we can get us a link, and we can
Oh, absolutely. And it's
pop
also
it in here.
it's also just one of the gifts in your marketing boost for lead generation and
There you
sales.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. So
And also there's some checklists in there and there's a planner. So there's a lot of goodies in there.
a lot of goodies. Yeah, you loaded that up. You gave us a Google Drive with all sorts of great assets. So if you are hearing this and you still have time to go in and grab Ellen's freebie, do it. You've got so much there for you. And if you missed it, if you're listening to this replay afterwards, then you can always purchase a VIP pass and access it that way. I'm sure there's more than $67 of value just in Ellen's freebie alone. So Ellen, thank you so much for being here
Yeah. Thanks
today
for
live.
having me.
Appreciate it. I'm so glad that we connected through a mutual good friend, and I just love your expertise. And again, I thank you for your time today and wish you a great weekend. And everyone else who's listening, have a great day. Thanks for being part of the summit, and thanks for listening to this either live or replay video. All right, everyone. Ellen, say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.